Hey everyone, welcome to the Smashy Business Show all the way from Step in Dubai. I'm Warid Ahmed.
And I'm Abdul Majid.
And for today, we have really interesting topics for you. But first of all, let's actually tell you what happened at Step yesterday. We were actually here to live it, and it was crazy. What do you have to say, Majid?
Funny thing was, a person came to us, thankfully, touting our own horn, but one of the people came and they were like, we love it that you report on stuff that other people are scared of. So yeah, thank you for the praise, and thank you for all the people who came yesterday, remember?
Yes.
Like some of our followers who are
Yes.
like following the newsletter and everything.
Funny enough, basically this
Ice
guy came.
Cubators, one of the
Yes,
things,
it's actually called Ice Cube VC
Yeah.
Investors, and we met this really lovely guy. His name is Lohanes, and what he told us is so interesting about Ice Cube. Basically, what they do is that they invest like very, very early on. So like you just have an idea. You haven't even started the operations. You haven't even, you haven't hired anybody.
Yeah.
They invest that early on, and what they do is they give you 15 minutes, you pitch it to them, and then for an hour, all of these investors, they sit together and they discuss it, and in an hour, they tell you yes or no. And I found that so interesting because honestly, to me, Majid, when I start my business, you best believe I'm gonna be at Ice Cube's doorstep. But not just that, there were also
They're
such
running a Shark
lovely.
Tank in their company.
Literally,
Very interesting,
that's literally
right?
what it is. Just
Yeah.
another version of Dubai Shark Tank, and a very silent one. Like you wouldn't know that these people exist, but there was also really lovely panels. I watched a panel with Danny Farha and Michael, the CEO and founder of Property Finder, and their panel. It was so interesting, Majid, because you know what it basically was. CEO Michael and Danny was his investor.
Yeah.
And it was like just seeing the relationship between them. Man, like you think that they're best friends.
Yeah.
They had such a close relationship, and that was actually the advice that they gave all of us panelists. Basically, what they were saying is that your relationship with your investor, that's basically like a marriage, but like with no divorce, and that you should try and have a really good relationship with your investor, because in the end of the day, that's a person who's believing in you. That's a person who you want to keep updated on everything. And the more honest you are, the better that relationship is. And basically what they were saying was so interesting, Majid. They were like, a lot of people get their their operations to go and pitch for them. But they were like, that's wrong. Go and develop that relationship yourself. Go and develop that network. Maybe one day you want to open a second business. Maybe one day you want to go abroad. So the panel that they gave, it was really interesting for me in that sense. And Danny, actually, he founded Biko Capital. You know what he was saying? He was like, for me, honestly, it's not the idea that matters. I don't care about the idea. For me, it's, do you have a plan? If you have a plan, I will invest with you. If it's just an idea, like I'm not doing anything with you. Like, how can I trust you? So that panel was really interesting. And what was really funny, I was telling Majid, so basically at Step, there's all these startups and everyone has this like really cute mini table. And there were these two competitors. They basically both started this concept of thrifting in the UAE. And if you know the UAE, thrifting here is not a priority for people. It's luxury. And they placed them both right beside each other. These competitors right beside each other, and you could so clearly see that everyone is going to one girl instead of the other. But I only think it was because the other one was silent. I think that's what it was.
You need to interact. You need to have a personality if you want to sell your startup or any idea. So yeah, I think she needs to have a personality to get more clients.
You know what I want to tell you about? Have you lately been seeing the new lists that Forbes is releasing?
Yeah.
So
Forbes,
Forbes is always doing this. They're always releasing a bunch of lists, and you know what I noticed about the list, by the way? It's a bunch of government figures.
Nice.
A lot of these women, they work for the government. So what we're seeing is that now, like in the UAE, in Dubai, like it's not just something hugely inspiring for a woman to work in the government. It's the norm. It's the norm. It's become the norm. But for me, what was slightly disappointing? There were certain women that weren't discussed. Like, I'll give you an example. Salt. Have you gone to Salt before?
Yeah.
Do you think it's good?
Yeah.
It's insane. It's so good. To me, it's the best burger spot. And
They
I
were
know
not
that.
there?
What do you mean?
they were not there in the list?
Yeah, Amin al-Marri. So Amin
Oh.
al-Marri is the person who founded Salt. And by the way, like tourists will come all the way to the UAE just to go to Salt. And they'll go like, they'll
Maybe
go
they made
every
it to the
single
list
day.
like last year because this list was 2024.
She's not
Maybe.
that spoken about, by the way, Amin al-Marri. And what Amin al-Marri does, it's so great because Salt has been here for a while and their consistency has been the same. And they've
Nice.
stayed at the top. So for me, as a founder, she stands out to me because she built a venture that's stable. The burgers, they always taste good and they always taste good in every branch, Majid. When I had it at SEF Eats, when I have it at Kite Beach, it's always the same quality and I can't say the same for other burger spots. But anyways, let's get to our first, one of our first big topics, Trump.
Yeah.
Oh my
Trump is
God.
in Miami
Yes.
enjoying. No, apart from enjoying,
Yeah.
he's gave a keynote speech tomorrow, Wednesday, according to their time, but
Yeah.
our time it was like late Thursday, early morning, and late Wednesday night. But it was a very interesting thing. It's nearly a 1.5 hour keynote.
Yeah.
But he started thanking everyone,
He thanked everyone, but the people
whoever
that
he could
thanked,
see in the crowd.
Yeah, but the people that he thanked are really interesting. So basically, he started off with thanking, Yasser Al-Rumayyan,
yes.
and he's basically the governor of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, and he's also the chairman of
Yeah.
FII. And if you know FII, it's in Riyadh, it's in Miami, so it's everywhere, and it's all.
It's the Davos in the desert.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
the World Economic
Yes.
Forum in the desert.
And it basically it's formed in Saudi Arabia, so this is
Yeah.
why the story's so big. But anyways, back to Trump. What did he say? So basically, he went on stage, and the first thing that he did was he praised the governor of PIF, so Yasser, and he was like, he's a great man, and so is
and he
his
was
public
telling everyone
investment
to
fund.
stand up. Please stand up.
Yeah,
Get a
and
round
he
of applause
clapped for
from
him.
everyone.
And the reason
Nice.
And you know what I see this as? This really signals the amount of respect that Trump has for Saudis and what they've built. And by the way, what I love about Trump is when he admires something and he wants something and he wants to go after it, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about showing it. I mean, just very recently, America announced that they're going to develop their own sovereign wealth fund. Imagine, after all this time. And I remember even in his keynote speech then, he was like, Saudi Arabia's one is doing really well, but, we can catch up to them. So we see what he's doing here,
And especially Trump and Yasser Al-Rumayyan, they share a very long relationship. Even when he was not president, in between when Biden was president, Yasser used to play golf with him. Trump's golf courses are very famous. So they've played
We have one in
golf.
Damak.
Yeah, so they've played golf together. So kind of like apart from the business relation, they have a personal level friendship as well. And that is why I guess he started with him. Then he went on to
Yes.
Miss
yes,
Reem.
Princess Reem.
Yeah,
so
Princess Reem.
basically, Princess Reem bint Bandar bint Sultan bint Abdulaziz Al Saud was basically actually appointed Saudi Arabia's U.S. ambassador in 2019, and Trump actually referred to her in his keynote, and he was like, "Wow, sitting right beside you is Elon Musk, and Princess Reem. Really, I love her. She's so loved." By
He
the
said
way,
you couldn't have done better. Sitting beside Elon
Exactly.
is the best thing that you could have done.
That's interesting. But Princess Reem herself, what she's done for Saudi, I remember I was watching this speech where she was saying today in Saudi, 40% of small and medium businesses are women. What she's done for women in Saudi Arabia, it's honestly so monumental, and it's so great that people realize it, because there was a time where women in Saudi, they couldn't drive, they couldn't go to the cinema, they couldn't step out in any certain way. I remember I even told you this. I used to watch football games, Majid, where a bunch of Saudi girls would go, and when the camera would, flash on them as any normal football, basketball game, they'd cover their faces. So they didn't have these rights, and they weren't comfortable. And now that they are, and Princess Reem, she played such an important role in that, and to know that Trump is aware of these figures and he's aware of how important they are. You know what's something that Princess Reem said that's really interesting? She actually said that King Salman, MBS, he's a really important part of the of the growth that she was able to trigger. And she said that whenever we were doing anything, any initiative, he would always come check up on us. Yeah, she said it in an interview with the NBC. She was like, Salman, he would always come ask, like, is everything going well? Is everything all right? Like, he would always check after our operations. So it's not just Princess Reem that's after women becoming, you know, gaining more roles in Saudi Arabia. It's also King Salman himself.
Very well-known fact that His Royal Highness Prince, the Crown Prince right now, Mohammed bin Salman, he is the main driver behind the modernization and the Saudi Vision 2030 and everything that's changed in Saudi Arabia in the past few years. It's all because of him. All of them are his initiatives. Even this FII event, I remember Richard Attias, the next person we're going to talk about. Richard Attias said in his
CEO
talk,
of FII.
before the FII was happening last year, he said that Mohammed bin Salman wanted it to be a government initiative, but there were some roadblocks. So he was like, okay, we'll be your biggest backer. We won't do it like on a government level, but we'll be your biggest backers. And we see that FII today is called the biggest economic forum that can happen in the Middle East. And most probably, what I saw this year, World Economic Forum and FII 8, if I was given an option to go in the past, I would go to FII 8. I won't go to the World Economic Forum because it was the same thing over and over. It's become repetitive. FII is bringing new ideas, new topics to the table. So for me, even if in this year, if I am given an option, 100% I'll go to FII. Not the regional bias because I'm based in this region and Middle East is doing really great. It's just that both events now, you look at them, the quality that you want from such an event is more at FII and less at World Economic Forum. So yeah, that's again the plan and the idea of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
And actually more ideas from King Salman, Trump, and Putin. Basically, they are currently in talks, to discuss energy partnerships together. And this is really interesting because we're seeing Putin, that's Russia, and Trump, the US, and Saudi Arabia all coming together. And for me in particular, what stands out to me is the fact that it's America and Russia. I mean, is the Cold War finally ending? You know, is it finally? I mean, it did end, but I did always feel that there was some sort of tension there. So the fact that Trump is leaning more with Russia, more so than the UK, honestly, all that it really signals here is that Trump is not trying to be political. He is focusing on business.
He wants money.
And that's what it is. And the fact, and by the way, and the fact that Saudi Arabia is in this agreement with them. Look at it like this. You have America. They have
one of the host of this thing.
It's crazy. America is one of the largest GDPs in the world. And then you have Russia. And the fact that they chose Saudi Arabia out of all the countries in the MENA region, man, this really signals the amount of power that Saudi Arabia has. It's honestly giving me goosebumps, Majid.
Yeah. And to be honest, these three, if they sit together on the table and decide something, it will become a global policy. And that is what Putin recently said. He was quoted by the state news agency of Russia. And he said that I had a chat, very nice chat with both of them together, and Saudi Arabia and the US. So energy-wise, Russia, one of the biggest producers of oil. US now one of the biggest producers. Saudi, it's like the religious, cultural and the monetary center of Middle East. It's the biggest economy in Middle East. So if these three combine together and decide to go change the world, they'll do it in a day. And what we've seen recently with Trump's statement about Ukraine President Zelensky, he's calling him ex-comedian, and he's taking the US. He recently stopped US aid funding, so Ukraine got affected, and he was like, no, I don't care about it. I'm not spending money anywhere apart from America. So his idea again is very businessy. He's like, give me money through imports, trade, anything, and take money from me, but give me something in return. So he is doing business right now, which is very nice to see from the American president, because usually they're only doing politics. So America doing business with Saudi and going and talking to Russia after so long, I think the Cold War has ended. I think, Vardi, you are right.
I think
it
it's
has
finally
ended.
ended. I think it's such a huge
yeah.
moment, and I feel like if you take a look at the Cold War, for the longest time ever, we've only ever seen Russia trying to expand their communist sphere of influence, and we've seen the U.S. try and expand their capitalist sphere of influence. So to me, honestly, it's not just that the Cold War ended; it's that capitalism is winning.
And also, I think the biggest loser in all of this is going to be Europe. Because Middle East, Saudi, America, Russia
They're
coming
all
from
building
that side.
such good ties together.
Yeah, and
That's what,
in all of this, you don't see Europe because Europe is supporting Ukraine, and even with some realistic solutions which are presented in Saudi Arabia recently, where US and Russia sat down to talk about Ukraine, talk about the Russia problem, the war, and energy and money and economy and everything. They didn't discuss Europe, and Europe was very angry with it. And they're like, okay, so Europe is on Ukraine's side, but now Trump is on Russia's side. It sounds alarms for European economies. Yesterday, I hosted someone from Germany, and I was talking to her about this. She came here as a guest, and she works for a firm there which does events for startups. And I just asked her a simple question. How's the German economy doing? Because it's the backbone of Europe. German economy, French economy, 2-3 big economies. She's like, we're doing fine. And I was like, okay, this is something that is concerning. A German person saying German economy is doing just fine shows
it's actually not concerning whatsoever. I heard something similar from a German person when I was working at
So it's
Lush.
concerning that the backbone of European economy is just fine. It's
You know
not
what
doing
it is?
great.
You know
It's
what
not
it is
doing
that
good.
Europe did, Majid? I think this is where we can slightly fault them. I think they're too reliant on taxes.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is with Europe. They are too reliant on taxes. If you take a look at the Middle East, you take a look at the UAE specifically, they don't rely on taxes.
Yeah.
They don't rely on taxes to give all of us a really good life, to give all of us a really good quality of life in terms of, just look at the grass that we're staring at right now. Look at how clean the environment is. Europe relies on taxes, so they can give people things like free education, university, healthcare, and that's where they're faulted because you need to expand your market more, and that's what the Middle East is doing that they're not doing. And we, where we also saw this with Europe is not winning with the Middle East. We saw it with the situation with Qatar and the European Union.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was the European Union, they basically have this tax of, if you're doing activities that are damaging the environment, they tax you. However, in this case, this tax, it was very unfair because Qatar was selling liquefied natural gas to the European Union.
Yeah.
And that's where they were getting it from. But you're buying from someone, but you're buying from them while also taxing them.
And they also needed it because they boycotted Russian gas and everything. And
Because
they
they
needed
support
it.
Ukraine.
So someone is providing what you need and you're like, okay, we'll tax you 5% extra on that. So that's wrong. They're living in like dark ages. They're going back to the dark ages.
Yeah.
They don't understand that modern economics, they require a to and fro motion in money as well. You do something for someone, you need Qatar's gas right now, so take away that 5% extra tax. You need it. They're just selling
Exactly.
it. They'll sell it to someone else if you don't buy it. So that's the problem with Europe. They're not ready to move. They have to be flexible in the current climate. If US can talk to Russia, you can go away with the 5% tax.
Anyways, we actually have to go away right now. There's a really good panel that's coming up that Majid really wants to catch up with. Do you want to tell them what it's about?
Yeah, Vadim, he's the founder of Bionic. He recently signed Cristiano Ronaldo as an investor. Ronaldo invested estimately $10 million in his biotech startup.
That's really big.
So he's going to
Very,
give a talk
very
and
big.
we'll try to find good content from
we're
that.
going to go and watch it right now. But thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Smashy Business Show, a Smashy Business production under the Augustus Media Podcast Network. Enjoy your day and please come visit us at our booth at STEP.
Bye-bye.